everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can use oracle cards in combination with tarot in one reading. I'm going to start by just explaining briefly the difference between tarot cards and oracle cards. So, what is tarot? Tarot is, the history is a little unclear, but as far as I can tell, and according to Britannica, it was invented as a card game in the 1400s, early 1400s, and it wasn't until the late 1700s that people started using it for divination. And that's mostly what people use it for now. I haven't heard of anyone that uses it as a card game, although they might be out there. Um, Tarot decks have 78 cards. There are 22 major arcana cards, which are numbered 0 through 21, and then there are 56 minor arcana cards, including 16 court cards, kings, queens, usually knights and pages, although some decks will do prince and princess, and then 40 pip cards, which would be 4 suits worth of 0, not 0, ace through 10. So that equals 78 cards, and that is a basic setup. There's variation between decks. People will sometimes change the names of not only some of the court cards, but also even some of the major arcana cards. And sometimes the suits will change names, like usually it's wands, pentacles, swords, and cups. But I have seen torches or batons instead of wands, and I've seen discs instead of pentacles, for example. I've also seen chalices instead of cups. There's a lot of options out there, but the same basic structure holds. So oracle cards, on the other hand, don't have a set structure. They could have any number of cards. They could have any subject. The cards themselves could have any meaning. They're usually labeled what they mean, so it's you don't have to like memorize the meanings. Like with tarot, people generally have decks where it doesn't have the meaning written out on it, although there are like beginner decks like that. Um, so with oracle cards, usually whatever it means is like pretty obvious when you look at it. And yeah, there's no set structure. So it's just like a deck of cards for divination purposes or reflection or meditation or whatever, just like you can use tarot for that. But with any possible number of cards and setup. I haven't seen an oracle deck that is divided into like a major and a minor uh, arcana or like group. But I guess you could do that. That would be kind of cool. And now I'm wondering if there is something like that out there. But yeah, so that's the basics of the difference between tarot and oracle cards. All right, so the next question is why combine them? And do you have to? You definitely don't have to combine them. Lots of people will just use oracle cards or just use tarot cards. In fact, most of the time I just stick with tarot. Um, but it can be really fun to add both, and it can add extra levels of meaning and like extra layers to it. Um, there's like an element of surprise sometimes with the oracle cards, especially if you usually use tarot, that pulling an oracle card can like just make you think about something differently. It can also be helpful if you just need like extra clarification. You could draw an extra tarot card, but you could also draw an oracle card. Different ways you could combine them. You could start a tarot reading by drawing an oracle card just to like ask for general themes or advice just to set up the reading. You could also do a full tarot reading and then draw an oracle card at the end as like a parting thought, basically. You could draw a card if you're confused about a certain aspect of a tarot reading. And you could do like there are like combined spreads where you are like right up front, like you're using both in certain positions in the spread. And I'm going to share a couple later on in the video. I had a teacher, a tarot teacher, who actually had like a huge collection of oracle cards from different decks that he just like mixed together and threw in a box, and he would like let people pick one and take it with them when they left. And I thought that was like such a cool idea. I haven't done it yet, but I keep thinking about it. And yeah, so it's like basically you could combine them any way you want, and you can just like go with your gut on it. But it is possible to have like a plan in mind and like a set structure for like when you're starting it, like this is how I'm going to use one versus the other, or to just like do it on the fly and be like, you know what, I'm actually gonna go reach for this deck over here and add an oracle card just to see what happens because I feel like I need to. Um, yeah, so that is basically the basics. Basically what I'm saying is there's no rules and you can do whatever you want, but sometimes people just want ideas for like how to combine them. And so that's the purpose of this video. So I just wanted to really quickly show you some of the Oracle decks that I like to use and just like how I use them, although most of them you could use in any of the ways that I already mentioned. So I'm not going to spend super long time on that. So, in addition to all the ways that I already mentioned you could use oracle cards, I just wanted to add that this deck, the Star Codes Astro Oracle, would be really great to add onto an astrological reading as well. To like, especially in the beginning, like to be like, what do we want to look at first? Because if somebody doesn't know and they're just coming to you like, I want to do this, but like I don't really know what I'm here for or like what we should focus on. Um, and you feel like it, you could draw this because it covers like all of the signs, all the planets, all the points in the chart, and like anything that could come up, you could draw a card for. So it's kind of fun. Um, but you could also use it if you had like a tarot spread that was astrological in focus. Um, or if it's like a timing question, you could definitely use that for that also. So that is Star Codes Astro Oracle. All right, I love this one. Citadel Oracle is amazing. The artwork is beautiful. It has tons of cards. I probably should have looked up how many, but like I'm going to put links to all these decks under this video. And I just find that when I use it, especially like for clarification or at the end of a tarot reading, like in combination, it always seems to add something like really key and really helpful. And just like, I can't tell you how many times I've done a reading and then I've been like, you know what, I'm gonna draw a card from here. And it like basically sums up the reading in like a concise word or two. It's perfect. So highly recommend this one for sure. All right, the Wild Way Oracle is a newer one that I've gotten, but I really love it so far. I'm still figuring out how I'm using it. It has like themes for on each card, but then it also has the different zodiac signs and their decan. So like each zodiac sign can be split into 3 decans. So there's 3 cards associated with like Sagittarius in this deck, for example. But the art is adorable and also like really on point for the meanings that she has for each card, and you could use it for the timing purposes since it does have like the zodiac decans in there, like that's really specific, and that could be very helpful. And I like to also, there's cards for each of the 8. Like if you follow the wheel of the year, like those holidays, there's a card for each one. So I show the Yule card here in this example. And I like just having those out. Like I have like a little tarot holder and I like having it out on my desk, whichever one is like the current season. It's kind of nice to look at. And yeah, but this is definitely one you could still use it in all the other ways because it just has that like really nice theme, and they're all like themes that would really resonate, and are like the things that are likely to come up in a reading. So it's very cool. Now, this one's a little different because the Woodland Wardens Oracle has not only like key themes on them, but also like an animal and a plant association. And for that reason, like even though you could definitely use it just in all the ways I already said, um, I really like this one for like more meditative, reflective work, I guess, because it's really interesting to think about like how the plant and animal, I mean, the plant and yeah, animal are connected to the theme and why they would come up for you now. And thinking about your relationship, like your, theoretical relationship to that animal and that plant. And there's like really interesting symbolism there. And so I find like it really makes me want to just like dig deep into that one card. So like, just throwing it into a reading is something that could be almost distracting for me, I guess. But I'm sure plenty of other people find it not distracting at all. I'm just a little distractible. Um, but yeah, it does have just like the regular themes on it too. So it's like you could definitely use it just like any other Oracle deck, but the art is super beautiful. And yeah, I love this one too. I mean, I love all the ones I'm going to share, but all right, so this deck is pretty different from the others in that instead of just like a keyword theme or a couple of words, like the Citadel will have like one word and then like a couple more underneath it. Um, this one has like a whole, well, message, you could say. And also it's different because the backs aren't all the same. So the backs have the feathers of each of the birds. So using it to be like totally random, you would have to close your eyes. Um, and that's fine. You can definitely do that. You could also use it just for like a daily draw, just for like a message for the day. And I feel like then in that case, and this would be a really good deck for that. I also think it would be a great like starting note or ending note for a reading as well. All right, the Moonology Oracle cards. There's like a bunch of different variations. I have 2 different ones I'll show you. But in this deck, it has like different versions of the moon, I guess, like different moon phases in certain signs, and It even has like the nodes and things like that related to the moon. And you could use this for timing questions. You could use this for, like in addition to an astrological reading, you could use it like reflecting on the card that like lines up with whatever moon phase is currently happening in that time, and just like working your way through the deck that way. But you also have like they're almost like prompts. Like some of them are questions, some of them are just like advice, and you could also use those just to add on to a reading, or to start off a reading or something like that. All right, and then the Moonology Manifestation Oracle is very similar, but it's really just the different moon phases and the different zodiac signs. And you can use it exactly the same way as the previous deck. Um, it is less like prompt-like, I guess, in the expressions on there, and more like advice, or yeah, advice pretty much for like the phrases on the cards. Really cool artwork though. There's a different artist for each of the Moonology decks, and they're all pretty cool. All right, I just wanted to share this one for anyone who loves the Everyday Witch tarot deck. Then you would definitely love this Oracle deck too. It's just like your basic everyday Oracle deck with all of the like the phrases, and there's not like anything like too out of the ordinary. Like it's mostly just themes that might come up, or advice. But there are things like I've showed on here, like that there's like fire magic and some random cards like that as well. Um, but you could pretty much just use it the same way as any of the other Oracle decks. I just wanted to share because I think it's really cool. And if you like the Everyday Witch Oracle, then you would love this one. Cards are on the bigger side, but the artwork's really cool. Now this deck is pretty different because it's all Celtic goddesses. Um, and you could definitely use it the same way as the other decks where you're just like adding on to a tarot reading for like the meaning behind the goddesses. But um, this one, I feel like you would do better working with the book, or like really studying the book, because she has like such in-depth like meanings and ideas and things in the book for each goddess, and it's just like really briefly encapsulated in the on the actual card. So there's like so much meaning lost there if you haven't like read the book also, I think personally. Um, though you could use it just for the like basic, like if it says, you know, goddess of divination, then that's what it's about, divination. But also if you like work with the Celtic goddesses, then you could use it in that way. You could use it to have it up as like a visual reminder or cue. You could also use it for inspiration, and you could also use it if you like call upon a goddess, like you could use it in the beginning of a reading. Um, I really love this one because there's so many goddesses in there that I hadn't even heard of. And I just genuinely loved the book. I thought it was really good. So, yeah, I do recommend this one. It's obviously not for everyone. So, if you are into this sort of thing, then you would like it. All right, and then this deck, it has some goddesses in it of different pantheons, but it has a lot of other things as well. It has like basic concepts, like it says the Witch of the Winter Woods, or Voice of the Outcasts. But then it also has the goddess cards, and it has like cards related to certain seasonal celebrations. But each card has a meaning underneath, and I have found them to be like, it's not like a huge deck, it's pretty small. I don't know how many cards. I should have looked that up for each of these. Um, but I found that they really picked like great topics. I love the selection of card meanings that they have in this deck, and I think the art's pretty cool. Um, and I think you could use it in any of the ways that I previously mentioned, including using the goddess cards or the seasonal cards in some of those specific ways as well. So I just wanted to quickly share a couple of spreads that use both tarot and oracle cards in case you're wondering like what that would look like. And it could pretty much look like whatever you want as long as you have a plan going into it. In this particular spread, you have the 5 tarot cards that you lay down first in that order that it's numbered. And you interpret it with those 5 cards as a tarot reading. And then you look for an extra layer by adding an oracle card on top. And I usually like to like lay it down so you can still see either like horizontally, so you still see the other one, or like off to the side a little. So it's like overlapping. And then it just like adds an extra layer to that tarot reading, and can sort of bring up extra like points, or things you might not have picked up on the first time around. And some of the questions in this reading are like, what's rising within you? And then the oracle cards, like, how can you nurture yourself? What are you reaching for? How can you reach it? How do you connect with others? How can you deepen your connections? Where are you coming from? How can you heal? Who are you right now? And what is your potential? And you could read that whole thing without, like, as a reading without the oracle card layers, but it's just like extra advice. And since so many tarot decks really are like the meanings are like advice, usually like expressions or words or something like that, or a theme that could be taken and interpreted in some sort of advice way. Um, that should work really well with a lot of decks. All right, and then one more example of how you could combine them in a spread. In this particular reading, so you're deciding between two options, and that comes up so often with clients, right? So you have, or for yourself, you have two things you're trying to consider. And this particular tarot spread would be you'd use tarot for cards 1 through 6. So you have one column being like the option, a card representing the option, and then the pros and the cons, and then card 4 being the second option, and then the pros and the cons of that option. And then the oracle cards are in the middle. So card 7 would be like advice for you if you choose option 1, and then card 8 would be advice for you if you choose option 2. And that's really helpful because it's not like, oh, hey, let's look at these, like you clearly need to do this option. Like people still have like the right to decide, even if one side looks more positive than the other, like they might still decide that the more challenging option is the one that's right for them for whatever reason. So having the advice for both options is still really helpful, and I find this to be a really helpful spread.